So welcome to Beyond the Arc. I got my guest Alex Martinez with me today. So today we're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers and basically where they are right now. What happens? Does Denver actually have enough in the tank after going 2 straight Game 7s to force the Lakers into maybe 6 or 7 games and them actually reaching the NBA Finals when everyone counted them out? What are you thinking, Alex?
Well, I mean, I don't see Denver really pushing into a Game 7. Maybe a Game 6. I really doubt it. But they've taken out some heavy dogs. Obviously the Clippers, which everybody that's like an expert analysis was picking the Clippers to win. There was a few people I heard were picking the Denver Nuggets, but not too many. So
yeah, I don't know anyone that picked the Nuggets to win that series. I don't know anyone that did. I don't know anyone that did. In fact, I was wrong because when the first round they played Utah, I wanted Utah to win because they were already up like 3-1 because that was the first 3 games that Denver came back from. But I wanted Utah to win because I felt that they actually matched up better to the Clippers and had a better shot of beating them. So I was kind of upset when Denver won. And then I was like, there's no way. They were down 3-1 to the Clippers. They're like, there's no way this series is over. And most people felt that way. And then they came back and they beat them.
Definitely.
So that definitely surprised me. But Denver, they won't go away. And they're not someone that you can play around with. They're a team that they're legitimate. I mean, they could. I think they could beat the. I don't think they will, but I think they could beat the Lakers. The way you got to look at it, the way they're looking at it. So, and I hope this is if you're a competitive person, this is how you want to look at it. We barely lost on a last-second play. Yeah, we played bad in Game 1 and got our asses handed to us. We won, or we basically won Game 2. We lost on a last-second play, so we could have been tied 1-1. And then they handed it to the Lakers for the most part, other than like the end of the fourth quarter in Game 3. So looking at their end, they could go, hey, we should be up 2-1, the vice versa. And if it was, the Lakers would be in some hurt because that'd be a little bit of a harder pill to swallow on that one. So
right.
So what are you thinking?
They're a good team. They're a really good team. And a really good team is going to give a great team like the Lakers, some trouble. And you're going to have, 1 or 2 of those games that you can look back on and be like, oh, the really good team almost beat that great team if, the ball bounced a little different or that last second shot by, AD didn't go in, of course. But I just feel like you, the Lakers, besides being a Laker fan, they're playing really well together, just like the Miami Heat, who are playing right now, are playing really well together. So I wouldn't be surprised if Denver won 1 more game, but I think that's it. I don't see them winning more than 2 games in the series. So
yeah,
but they're going to be trouble.
I could definitely,
Denver, in the future is going to be lots of trouble for everybody.
And that's something that we'll talk about, a little bit later. But I would be more surprised based on how the Lakers have been playing the last 2 games. I'd be more surprised if Denver doesn't get at least 1 more game. I don't think they win this next game. I think the Lakers. It was actually interesting because they were down by so much, and the fact that they came all the way back because it's. Sometimes when you lose in basketball or even football or any sport, when you get embarrassed, usually you come back with resurgence in that next game. That usually always happens. Any team I've ever seen in the NBA playoffs, if you get blown out 1 game, you usually either blow out the other team the next game or you definitely win. It's like it's almost always happens unless the talent is just that much stacked, opposite. But the fact that the Lakers, they played a really bad game. They played a really bad game in Game 3, and they still almost won. They were down, almost 20, about 20 points, and they came all the way back. And you got to figure LeBron James didn't play well. He had a triple double. He had like 30 points
Right.
and 10 plus rebounds, 10 plus assists. But if you look at his stat line, it looked good. If you didn't watch the game, it looked good. But I watched the game and he didn't look good. He was missing tons of shots. I'm a firm believer that the referees were very much helping Denver because they want this series to go a little bit longer than it really should. Probably more for the TV revenue. But I mean, I was watching this game and I'm like, well, one, like Denver's traveling, they're not calling it. But the Lakers aren't making shots. If the Lakers were just making their shots, it would have been either a competitive game the whole time, and then the Lakers could have pushed forward and really got that, got at the end and just blew them out at the end. They could have done that. But
Right.
I think this series you know what you're going to get more or less with LeBron James. You know what you're going to get more or less with Anthony Davis. Now, the bigs need to rebound more because I think I was seeing that there was 4 rebounds between Dwight Howard, McGee, and Anthony Davis combined 4 rebounds. That can't happen. That can't happen. So they have to really focus on rebounding. But again, you know what you're going to get for the most part with LeBron. And you know what you're going to get with the most part with Anthony Davis. So basically, what they have to figure out is who else is going to come? Who else is going to show? Because they had Grant from Denver. He showed up. He had like 20-something point, almost like 30 points.
He had a great 27, game. I think.
Yeah, something pretty good. But I'm like, that can't happen. So you got to stop that. But at the same time, you need to have one of your guys do it. And it doesn't matter because they talk about Kyle Kuzma being that third guy. It doesn't really matter who that third person is. But they need to get someone else involved, whether it's Danny Green, because he's very capable of having a 20-point game. Danny Green just hits like, 3 or 4 threes, which is very much possible. I mean, he's a 3-point shooting kind of guy. I mean, that's his specialty. He has tattoos
definitely.
of, all these guys.
That's why they brought him here. That's exactly why they brought him here.
Yeah, that's why they brought him here. So he's a 3-point shooter, and he's a specialist in the 3. So it's very possible he has a 20-point game. KCP, he can score 20 points in a game. You can't rely on him, but you should be able to rely on someone will step up. Like they had Rondo, I think was game 1. He stepped up hard. Him and Kuzma had really good games. And so everyone's talking about Kuzma being that third guy. It really doesn't matter if it's Kuzma specifically, but they need to do something. Someone needs to be that third person that scores 20-something points, and it has to be collectively. Because if you see Morris, because Morris could even score 20 points. I can't remember if it was game 1 of that one or if it was against the Rockets, but I mean, he was hitting it. I know game 1, everyone was just hitting everything. And you can't really think that that's going to happen every game, but you have to hope that at some point we're going to be hitting shots, because I think the only team that's really going to beat the Lakers is going to be the Lakers. I think if they're just not making shots and they just kind of gave up, I mean, that's pretty much what you're going to get. So
right. Well, you know what? The other thing that a lot of people are probably not talking about right now, as far as this the series is the coaching on both sides, because the Lakers coach he's a good coach. I think he's always been a really good coach, and they lost the first game versus the Trailblazers, and the first game against
the Rockets.
And coach did a good job. After that, he was like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And the team responded, right? So this is basically the same thing. They lost the game. There was a close game, and they lost this one. And now the coach is going to have to pull up some game plans, basically, to have AD, obviously have more than 2 rebounds. And he's going to have a game plan for his team, and same with Denver. They're going to have what's the name of the coach from Denver? I always forget his name.
Malone.
Malone, is it?
Yeah, Malone.
Right, Malone. He's a good coach. He's a really good coach. You could tell that he does his homework. He does his X's and O's, but he also has that scrappiness to him. Which I think you need. And the Lakers coach doesn't really seem like a scrappy type of guy. But he definitely seems like the type of guy that's like a book nerd, you know, like
Yeah.
he knows his X's and O's. So I'm really curious to see what the coaches have in plan for the opposite team. You know, that's something that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, you know, and I was really impressed when they got Vogel when they actually hired him. I thought it was a good hire.
Vogel, yes.
Yeah, Frank Vogel. I've been talking about him being a really good coach for a long time. There's a couple of good coaches.
Yes.
When he was Indiana assistant coach, and then Rick Carlisle went to the Mavericks, so he became the head coach. They just promoted him, and I was like, dude, he's a really good defensive mind coach.
Yeah, he is.
He doesn't have too much of experience in like high volume and winning championships or anything like that. But I'm like, he actually comes from a pretty decent tree of coaches. So I'm like, all right, well, he's pretty good. He went to Orlando. He didn't have a good stint in Orlando, but really, there really hasn't been a coach that has had a great stint. I don't even know who the coach of Orlando is currently. But I mean, they've gone to the playoffs, but they're really a non-factor. They're a below 500 team that gets to the playoffs and loses. I think last year they won one game in a surprise against. I think they beat Toronto, one game, and then this year they beat Milwaukee one game. I think they're both the first game of the series, and then they get gentlemen swept the rest of the way. So but anyways, I think Orlando. I think it was more of an organization. They couldn't put a decent team around them. Around the coach, because I mean, a coach needs some help. I mean, for the most part, most coaches can't just get no-name guys and just make them. Oh, they're a championship team. That's not typically how that works, at least in the NBA. It's mostly about what kind of talent you have. So, I mean, no one's going to argue that the Lakers aren't a really talented team when you have two, first team All NBA on the same team. I mean, I think the last time that happened was Kobe Shaq. So.
So, I mean, and they're basically similar, right?
Yeah.
You got a guard and a center / power forward, but obviously AD doesn't like to be called a center.
No, he does not.
He wants to be called a power forward. But whatever floats his boat.
I don't think
keep him happy.
Yeah,
gotta keep him happy.
I think if you look at his game, I would definitely say he is more of a 4. He has the body and frame to be a 5, but. And I know with small ball and everything, but I think he is better being the 4 that can play 5. Looking at how he plays, I mean, he can shoot the 3, which is great. But he's not that guy. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm more traditional, but when I'm looking at centers, I personally would want a center the way the Lakers built it, where you got shot blocking. You have rebounding, like Dwight. I mean, obviously, we just talked about they had a horrible third game with rebounding and stuff. But like, those are the kind of centers that I would particularly want. And Anthony Davis, basically, anything he gives me, he should be giving me some decent rebounds because he's so long and strong and whatnot. But I don't necessarily need to have him score. Give me 10, 15 rebounds for me to win the game. I actually really like Dwight, and I hope we re-sign him next year. I really hope that we keep Dwight because I think he actually plays perfect right next to Anthony Davis, and he works really good with Shaquille O'Neal and with LeBron James. Honestly, if I'm Dwight Howard and Rondo, if I'm those two players, I think I'd rather just play the rest of my career because they're closer to the end anyway. I think I'd rather play the rest of my career with the Lakers and be like, hey, just give me a decent contract, what I'm going to roughly get anywhere else in the league, because no one's going to pay Rondo and Dwight Howard major money at their age and whatnot. So you figure they'll probably get maybe $10 million at best a year at best. So it's like you can give them something like that. I mean, they're definitely worth it. Especially playoff Rondo has been playing so well. Again, not in Game 3, but anyways, so that's what I'm thinking. I am curious on how they come out in next game. Game 4. They're really gonna have to really control the momentum of the game, which LeBron James let the other team because he's getting so many turnovers. Denver was just controlling the whole style of the game, and that they can't allow that. So they have to get fast break points. They have to really push the tempo, and they got to really rebound. And Dwight Howard, it's hard because Dwight Howard in Game 1 really pushed Joker to get in his head, but I think ever since then, for the most part, Joker's really been forcing it on Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard has not been playing very well these last 2 games. against him. Which I was hopeful that could just be the end of him. If Dwight's constantly getting at him, it's not going to work out very well for for Joker. But it doesn't. It's not looking that way. Hopefully things can change, or hopefully McGee can play some of that defense and where he can't score.
Well, it's the old cliche, right? Defenses win championships.
Right.
And that's what they're going to have to do. And
They're
they
gonna,
have the guys to, I don't want to necessarily say stop the Joker, but definitely make his
difficult
his game, harder than it needs to be.
Right.
Like work for every single point, and then you got between between Howard and McGee, you got how many fouls right there?
Yeah,
you got a bunch of fouls that you can use.
Absolutely.
I know he's a good free throw shooter. Don't get me wrong, but you can always slow him down that way. Don't let him get into a rhythm. Like he did last series. He got into a rhythm. He was amazing in his last series. But obviously, we got three bigs that are really good defensively. So
yeah, and I don't know if you saw this too. There was one game, and I can't remember. It was in this series, and Dwight Howard had like 4 fouls in like either the first. It was like super early, but it was like in the first half, and Vogel's like, keep on playing, like because they have the luxury of that, and that's most teams don't. Where you could like what you're saying, you have fouls to give. If you come out of the game, you come out of the game. It's okay. It's not a big deal. We have someone else that will go right in. So just play aggressive and really force the fact. He just has to play smarter because he didn't play. Dwight Howard did not play as smart as he really should have played in this last game. But hopefully he can get it together and really push Denver to win. I think they just need to try to blow them out from the beginning. I mean, they really just need to like you're saying, the defense needs to hit. But like what I was saying earlier, their offense really needs to hit. Danny Green needs to hit threes. He needs to stop killing us by missing so many damn shots that are open.
Right. It's got to be by committee, like you said. LeBron and AD. We know what we're going to get from them.
Absolutely.
From them, and the rest of the guys. I mean, we don't necessarily. I've always, everybody's saying that we need the third guy. They need Blake. Need the third guy. You don't really need a third guy. All you really need is for Caruso, Green, Rondo, to just give us 8, 9, 10 points.
Right. Yep.
And then Kuzma, of course, but and they all have the ability to do that.
All of them do. Absolutely.
LeBron has to get everybody involved.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would be, if you look at Caruso, I mean, would you be surprised if this was his stat line? 14 points, 6 assists, a block, 4 rebounds. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me, but that'd be a pretty good stat line. Kuzma,
that's pretty good. Yeah.
22 points. 7 rebounds. He's not a big rebounder, but let's say 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and maybe a block or so. That's not unrealistic. If you look at Morris, 21 points. It's not something you should expect, but I mean, all stat lines that really could happen, and if all of them happen, then it's like game 1 where it was just give up now because there's no way. If they're playing the defense they were playing game 1 and shooting how they're shooting in game 1, there's not a team in the league that could beat them. They're just going to kill every team. So.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, all they have to do is click on off cylinders, which they can, which I think they will. Game 4. I'm confident, like you, that they'll take care of business. Like the coach, I'm sure is gonna sit down with Jay Kidd. And the other coaches and be like, all right, this is what we got to do. Let's get these guys to buy into our system. And, ain't nobody better than LeBron as far as, he listens to his coaches when he trusts his coaches. Obviously, in Cleveland when he had that young coach, what was his name? Blash, I think his last name was.
Brown?
No, it wasn't Brown. It was the other guy. It was a guy that they.
That he was with Cleveland for 1 year. Blatch.
Yeah, Blatch. There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Blatch.
Like you can kind of see. I mean, obviously, LeBron never came out and said, I don't really trust this guy. But you can kind of see it in his face and in his body language that he didn't really, trust the guy. You can see it. At least I could back in the day. But with this coach, I think he trusts him a lot, and I really feel like he buys into his system. So
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I would definitely agree with that, which actually was surprising because last year LeBron wasn't really known for playing some strong defense, and this year LeBron
right.
James's defense has stepped up. It's a lot better than it was last year, and it's
Oh
honestly
yeah,
better than it
oh
has
yeah.
been in a couple years for LeBron. So I mean, some of
Or
that definitely is because of I think Anthony Davis, and I think collectively as a team, I think that they're better, and I think that's helped LeBron because he has someone. If he misses or whatever, he has shot blockers behind him, and that always helps defenses instead of just
right,
going right
right.
to the basket, just scoring at will. If
Let
you're
me
playing
give you
small ball.
a little trivia. Who was the coach for the Lakers at the beginning of the season last year? Was it
Last year?
Vogel? Yeah,
No, last year was it was
you
my
forgot.
good friend Luke Walton, who you
Luke
think is the
Walton.
best white player of all time, which is a
Luke
whole different.
Walton, yeah,
Yeah,
Mr. San Diego
yeah,
himself. Yeah, and again, he's another coach that I saw it that LeBron wasn't really buying into his system. You know what I mean?
no,
Like
no, he
I don't
wasn't.
know,
Did
like he never said nothing out loud. He never dogged them in the media or anything like
right?
that. But just something about LeBron's body language said, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah,
And LeBron has a high IQ, so he knows
yeah,
what
that's
type
true.
of a
That's a
coach
good point.
he can
Well,
play
they
for.
played. They actually played together too in Cleveland. I
Yeah, you're
believe for
right.
like
You're
a
right. I think
year.
he played like 1 or 2 seasons
Yeah,
over
like
there
one or
after he
two
left the
seasons.
Lakers.
I don't know if I ever told you actually. Luke Walton, he coached me in a it was like a charity tournament kind of thing.
Oh, nice.
Him and his dad Bill, and then I met Steve Kerr and some other guys. I actually met Steve Kerr the summer before he became the head coach of Golden State. So that was
Oh,
actually pretty
wow.
interesting. Yeah, because we were talking about the Knicks at the time because it was everyone
Okay.
thought that Steve Kerr was going to go to the Knicks because of the connection with Phil Jackson and being with the Knicks, and that was pretty surprising. Um, but yeah. Anyways, so yeah, well, shoot. Yeah, shoot. If you want to do trivia, I mean, I can go Laker trivia and any NBA trivia, but I could definitely do Laker trivia all day long. Here's a
Right.
random.
Right.
Here's a
It
random
took you a
question.
second. It took you a second, though, didn't it?
No,
Because I
no,
thought you
no.
go,
I know. Well, okay, so who was the Lakers coach before Luke Walton?
oh, wow. Before Walton was, I think you got me there.
Oh man,
Can't
you
think of
gotta
it.
know this.
It wasn't.
You want a hint?
Give me a hint. Yeah, throw me a
Okay,
bone.
he was the head coach of the Nets back when they were going to the the championship against the Lakers and Spurs.
Oh, yeah. Scott.
Byron Scott. There you
and-
go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There you
Of course,
go.
of course. Well, but that goes to show you his stay there was like totally meaningless because of the fact that they were so horrible. Like I remember Kobe was when he was alive, God rest his soul. He wasn't even coming to the game, and then LeBron showed up, to LA, and guess who started coming to the game?
All right. Yeah.
So, oh wow, that was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it feels like a long time ago.
Sure does. It's weird to think, but anyways, kind of getting back to topic. Lakers.
Right.
Lakers. If you had to predict at this point, where do you think the series is going to go? Where will it end? And who will win? And how many games?
Well, obviously, I think the Lakers will definitely win. So right now they're up 2-1. I think they'll go up 3-1, and then I think Denver will pull one out.
Yeah.
One of those close games that could go either way. I think Denver will pull another one out. So that obviously that'll be 2 games, and then the Lakers will close them out after that.
And 6, yeah.
And then,
If I had
honestly,
to bet,
I don't see them
that's
losing
what
more
it'd be.
than I don't see them losing more than 3 more games all the way to the championship. 1 more
Yeah.
game to the Denver, and then 2 more games in the finals. At least that's how I look.
Yeah, I agree. I think 6 games is realistically where I believe that they should be, and I think Game 4 will really tell you. Usually, they tell you in a series you'll know who a team is, or how the series will go and how teams are. You'll know who the teams are in Game 3. You'll definitely know everything about a team by the third game. And you definitely know how the series will go by game 5. Because game 3, usually a team could easily be up 2-0, and by the third game, they're either, okay, they're down 0-3, or were they willing to fight and really push it? And then you go, did they barely win? And this is old school too, where, well, not even old school, this is like just non-coronavirus, where there was more home court advantage. And I think that makes a big deal in these NBA playoffs right now, that there's not really that home court advantage. Because right now the Lakers, I mean, the whole LA stadium and Staples would just be crazy right now with how they're playing. They'd be so happy and whatnot. But I would say that 6 games is realistically where I see it. And I think Miami just won now, so I'm like, I would probably say 6 games is another I would say that's where the series would end. I don't see it going to 7 games with either team, with either Denver. And a good stat to know for LeBron James led teams is he's like, I believe he's undefeated when he goes up 2-0. So, I mean, yeah, so he doesn't lose when he's up 2-0 in the series, and he's never blown a 3-1 lead. So if they could win tomorrow night and win game 4, Denver might win a game. But even LeBron James, his stats on closeout games are really good. So, I mean, if the Lakers were able to and smart and really could oppose their will, you don't even let them entertain forcing game 6. You just put them away while you can in game 5.
Yes.
But
you don't want to give these guys any confidence.
You don't.
None.
Because just like I said earlier, in their minds, if let's say they win this next game, then they go, shit, we should be up 3-1, and that's the last thing. You don't want a team like, you just want to put them down and take them out and just let's go to the next one. I mean, that's honestly how the Lakers should approach it. But we'll see.
Correct, and I'm sure they are. I'm pretty sure that they are.
We'll see.
They saw what the Clippers went through.
We'll see, and I hope maybe first 5-10 minutes of the first quarter that we'll really see how they come out. Because I want to see LeBron James. Remember that game with when he was, I think it was game 6 of the NBA Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics, and that serious face of like, I don't care what I have to do, I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you. Like that's what I want to see. So, and that's what I expect to see.